Okay, it looks like we're on. Hi, again, day 3. This is super cool. Today, we're going to do a rebuild. A little while ago, one of our studious or beautiful Flow users asked how to recreate this design by Aaron Iker on Dribbble. So that's what we're going to do today. It might end up being a little bit longer than usual, but I'll do my best to keep it tight and not so rambly. So let's have a look at the design file. There we go. And let's pop on over to here. So it's this animation right here. And one of the things that I really like to do when I'm learning how to do a new technique or just practicing animations, I love to go onto Dribbble and pick a design that I think is cool and recreate that thing. Okay, so, and if you want to learn a little bit more about that, let's go to createwithflow.com. We're going to check out our blog because I've written a nice little article about that. So we're going to go here, we're going to click on the blog and learn to animate by stealing other people's work. And you don't really steal other people's work, but it is our take on the art of finding design inspiration, picking it apart and rebuilding it and owning it in your own creative way. Okay, so here, and this is the whole article, but you can basically go about it. Read about it and see what my perspective is on, or our perspective is on creating rebounds and highlighting other people's work. So not only are you taking an idea that somebody else has and you're learning how to rebuild that thing, but you're also giving them credit and highlighting their work in a public place as well. So for example, this is Loris F. Alessandria's Martini Animation Challenge. A bunch of other people did it. And that's really cool. And you just give back to the community. You learn at the same time. And here's a rebound that we did by of Namika Hamasaki's work, etc., etc. Okay, so this is what we're going to do today. And this is the animation. It's by Aaron Iker. Makes some really great stuff and always posts to Dribbble. I will post the link here in the feed afterwards. And if you are on our Slack channel, I'll just go and toss it in there actually right now. That's my private stuff. And it's right here actually. It's already there. I'm ahead of myself. Okay. So there are 3 things that I see in this. So when I look at this one, I see 3 things. I see an animation on the Play&Pause icon. I see the Play&Pause words animating. And then I see this background animation happen as well. There's also the up and down movement, but that's not necessary, I would say, to recreating it. But we can do that anyways. I think that the up and down is just an effect. But let's build it in 3 different parts. Okay, and then we're going to stitch those things together. The first thing I like to do when I'm looking at these things is I'm going to go and I'm going to save that video. And we're going to save it to the desktop. Ooh, look at that. Thanks, Finder. And now we're going to open that thing up. And this is going to help us see the timing. Now, it's 7 seconds long, but so you can see that it kind of starts around 1 second, and those animations are actually pretty fast. It's 7 seconds for the entire thing. Okay, so the click happens right about here. That's about 1 second, and it finishes right there. So it's about a 2-second transition. Okay. The other thing that I like to do when we download these things is sometimes what I'll do is I'll take a picture of the different states and I will use that picture to help me recreate the dimensions and things like that. So first steps first, let's take a snapshot of this. So I'm just going to go Command Shift 4 And that gives me, I'm using this nice little screenshot software, but I'm going to copy that screenshot. You could save it to the desktop. I'm going to go over to Flow. And I'm going to create a new project. And we're going to do an empty timeline. Now, the majority of this work is going to be done in Flow. But for the tech stuff, I'm going to use Sketch. We don't have to use Sketch, but I prefer it for this design because generally I like my animations to be using outline text rather than just letters. And this one has some animation stuff happening on the letters anyways, so that's what we're going to do. Okay, so let's have a look here. This is the animation. Sorry, this is the design. I'm just going to move that here. I'm going to press Option and click there just to lock that. So now I can make a rectangle. Actually, what I'm going to do here, there's this. So the first thing I'm actually going to do is I'm going to recreate the background. Okay, with this circle that comes and goes. And there's a really nice layer option in Flow that I'm going to use this for. And all this looks to me is a black background with a shape coming through it. And right about here, sorry, let me just go forward. Right there, you see? You see that shape right there? That looks to me like this is a purple circle moving over a dark background. So I'm going to also take a copy of this. Okay. And it looks to me too, is it's like it's not moving horizontally, it's sort of moving up and to the left just a little bit. See how it kind of goes up and ends sort of like right up around here. And it comes from the bottom and goes back up too. Okay, so I'm going to take this one. We're going to use both. One to get us the shape of the image. Oh, sorry. One to get us the shape of the circle, the size of the circle to sort of match that, and then the other. I suppose we could use one or the other, but the other for the initial sized button element. Let's go like this. A button is probably, it's typically a little bit smaller than this, but for today, doesn't totally matter how big this thing is going to be. Okay, so let's start. I'm going to add a layer because what we can do with a layer is we can insert it. It's this clear object right here. And I can make it big like that, right to the edge, and right to the edge like that. Okay, so that's about the same size as that pill. And it's 360 by 150. So let's just round that out, 360. Oops. 360 by 150, something like that. Okay, so that's about right. Let's make it a bit wider. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's super tight to the edges there. And it could go up a little bit, probably 152. There you go. Okay. So now I'm going to lock that. And now I'm just going to make it 200. Make it a little bit smaller so that when we export it, it's not going to be this massive, massive thing. Now we have our size. No, never mind. We're just going to leave it that big. Okay. So that's good. And let's now color the background of this thing. So the background is going to be the same color as this area right here. We select the layer. And we click on this background color right up here, right up in the top right corner. Grab that and click. There we go. Now, since it is 152 high, and this looks like a standard sized pill, that means that the border of this thing is going to be half the width or half the height. So it's going to be 76. Sorry, the radius is going to be 76, not the border. There we go. So I just changed the radius here to 76. And now we have that nice clean pill shape right in there. So next we are going to delete this shot, and we're going to use this shot here to size up a circle that's going to fit this arc that's like right here. So my guess is what we'll do is make a, well, not my guess, we will make a circle, and we're going to get rid of the stroke width on that thing. And we're going to, let's just change the fill color so we can contrast against the purple really well. And we're going to move that over here. We're also going to turn off the mask stage to artboard. And we're going to open that up like that. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to open this up a little bit. See if anybody's asking questions. Nope, nobody's asking questions right now. Doesn't seem so. Just checking to see if there's any questions so far. And doesn't appear so. Cool. All right, so let's just keep going. What we're going to do, see, I'm making that circle nice and big, and you can kind of see that it's not matching the edge right here. There's like purple. So I'm just going to keep making it bigger until it is really close to that shape, like this. And let's make it a little bit bigger. Compared to the button, it is quite large itself. Getting there. It's almost there. Looks like it's a little bit bigger. And that's getting tight like that. That's pretty good. So let's make that 650 by 650. And now I like that. Okay, so that's pretty good. Now we're going to change the color of this. Fill to that purple. All right, there we go. So now those two are the same. So what we'll do is we're going to drop that circle into that layer. So I'm just grabbing it up here in the hierarchy panel and dropping it in. That's going to create a group. And that group has now the size of that pill. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to clip and I'm going to say mask to bounds. And what that's going to do is it's going to take the bounds of the layer. It's going to turn that into a mask and clip everything that's inside of it. And so now you get this nice purple fill color, or it appears to be a fill color inside of that layer because that big circle is in here. And let's just change it, change its name. I don't like the name Circle 3. Okay. Now we can get rid of the clean shot for now because we don't need to. Oops. Let's just delete this. Let's just delete that image for now. Okay. So I'm liking this so far. Let's grab that. Let's make it tight to the edge. Again, it's 364 by 152. So I like to just select my scene and make it the same size as well. 364. Oops. 364. Can't type. Let's undo. Let's undo one more time by pressing Command Z. And I'm going to uncheck this adjust contents on resize, or adjust content on resize option. So let's hit 364 and 152. Okay, there we go. So now our scene looks like that. Okay, so now we go back to the video and just analyze the video a little bit. And I'm just looking right now, I'm just looking at the motion. Okay. So it looks like it's going to come up and then go down like that. Okay, play and pause. Cool. It's just going to go up from... Yeah, okay, so that looks pretty good. So what I'll do now is I will... And sorry if I'm stalling a little bit. Yeah, and sorry if like there's little moments where I'm pausing. It's just because I'm looking at something and I'm thinking. So I'll try and remember to not pause too many times. But yeah, I was just like looking at it and thinking, how am I going to do the motion? And the one way that it makes sense to me is what I'll do is I'll take like the last little sliver of the circle moving out, and I'll start to position. I'll use that to position the shape in terms of its, you know, where it's going sort of vertically or something like that out of that little pill shape. Okay, let's get back to flow. And here we're going to do this as well. We're going to grab that. We're going to copy it and paste. All right, so let's give that a little bit of opacity so that we know that we're in the right spot. So right before this ends, right before this animation ends, the circle itself is up and to the left, just like that. Okay, so let's also bring that, oh, no, select that image again. Let's bring that opacity way down like that so we can see it. So by the time we get to, let's just say that it's 1 second for now. We're not going to adjust the timeline duration. What we're going to do is now take that circle and we're going to move it. So it looks like we're going to move it. See how I'm just sort of moving it and I'm fitting the sort of shape of it here. There we go. So again, I'm fitting the arc a little bit in the same way that I did when I was creating this to begin with. And it gives me like an approximate last frame of where this circle is going to be. So let's get rid of this and then just move that up into the left a little bit. So now that it's right outside of that thing. And here, oh, look at that. I had relative mode on. That's okay. We have the last position. So that circle is positioned right there. I'm going to turn relative mode off. And where I started the animation was in the middle of the circle. So what I can do is I can go back to the beginning of our timeline, drag the playhead over here to 0, and just drag that back into the center by pressing Command and snapping. And now our animation is created. Okay, so there we go. That's what that first one looks like. Okay. And what we're going to do after this is we're going to work on the play and the pause animation. Because that's another thing that we can do inside of Flow as well, because it's just shapes. So I'm going to save this timeline as play pause. And we're going to call this group the button. And we're going to call this the background circle. Okay, so next we're going to save our file. And now we are going to go and have a look at the, there it is, it's right here. The initial state of this play pause. There we go. So let's just take this again. And we're going to watch just slowly. See how that triangle transforms into a square? Okay. And then another square comes out of it. So what that shows to me is that there are two shapes. So I see two shapes, okay? I mean, I see three shapes. There's the triangle, and then there's the two play pause icon elements. But really, I see two because one is transforming into the other. And so what we're going to do is we're going to set up, this is me thinking, we're going to set up the shape first by creating the play pause with the two little rectangles. And then we're going to animate to and from that thing because it's the more complicated shape. All right, so let's just do that. So we have a copy of how big the triangle is going to be. I just took a screenshot of it and I'm going to save that. And now I'm going to come here and just get that last state of the play pause button like that. And I'm going to copy that. I'm going to come back to flow and I'm going to paste and I'm going to adjust that opacity and we're going to undo. We're going to turn on relative mode again because we're just going to do some edits for now. We're not going to do any animating yet. And I'm going to move that into place just like that. Okay, so I'm just looking. It's hard, probably hard for you guys to see, but right down here, I'm adjusting the, oh, sorry. We're right here. So I went and I copied and pasted what I was talking about is over here. I was looking at the play pause element and I took a snapshot of this state because we have the play icon, the triangle, and it transitions slowly to that shape. And then this other one, it kind of rolls out and goes up and does this little bounce. Okay, so that'll be fun to recreate, and that's what we're going to do next. Okay, so I took two screenshots. I'm positioning this one right here so that it's right in the right place, just like that. And now what I'll do is I will create two rectangles. I'm going to create one, and I'm going to call this pause 1, and we're going to get rid of, the stroke width, and we're going to make its fill color white. 6 Fs, that's going to give us some white, and we're just going to position it like this and position the height 10 by 42. That's pretty close. We're going to copy and we're going to paste, and we're going to move this one into position by snapping, by pressing snap, or pressing the command button to snap, and we're just going to let that go right there. And we're going to rename that to pause 2. Okay, so I now have my two shapes, and let's go ahead and animate at first the first one. So this one goes from the triangle and it kind of splits out and turns into itself. Okay, so let's go back here. Actually on the desktop is where I saved this file, my screen cap from before. This is how big that shape is going to be. So let's change its property like that. We're dropping down the opacity there. We're going to put this underneath pause 1, bring pause 1 to the top, and now we're going to just position this like that. Okay, so that's roughly where it goes. And what we can do now is we can double click into this shape and we can press shift and bring that, or no, we don't need to press shift. We can just drag that over there, that one. And what we're going to do is we're just also going to press command and drag this one there like that. Actually, undo. I always forget to do this. I always forget to turn relative mode off. And sometimes I have to undo things. So I'm going to turn relative mode off. I pressed undo twice. while I was in that state. And now what we'll do is we'll just bring this one up like this, and then we'll bring the next one down. And we're pressing Command to snap those 2 points together. So now that's the original state. And it looks like we have done it inversely. I did it at the end. Okay. So if I get rid of, if I just hide these shots like that, we don't want this to have the play button. We want the play button to be there. Okay. Not at the end like that. So what we can do is we can take that pause track that we just created. We can right click on that and we're going to reverse it. Okay. So now it's in the paused state at the end of our animation like that. And let's hit play. Another thing that we can do is you see this little jitteriness like that. Okay, well, sometimes that happens because we're working on something that's relatively small and it's a fast animation and it's changing the X and the width of this thing at the same time. So one way we can do that is instead of combining these two animations of X and width, we're going to press Command Shift R, and we're going to change the anchor point to the top left of this shape. So now there shouldn't be, see how it's now moving because we changed where the anchor point is going to be. Now if we delete by selecting the last key value down here, okay, now we only have a width animation, just like that. Okay, just like that. Still a little bit of jitteriness, but maybe we don't even need that width animation either. Okay, and now that is going like this. Nope, we do want that width animation. Okay, so we'll do it like that. How do we smooth that out a little bit then? What can we do with this shape to make it a little bit smoother? We can maybe do some interpreting. Okay, so sometimes you'll run into this, and I'm running into it now. There's actually a funny little thing that happens with animating shapes like this. Let's try seeing if we can change the orientation of this shape. And that doesn't do anything for us. Let's try the drawing direction. Okay, that's not going to do anything for us. Okay, so I'm getting this tiny little jitteriness, and it's because it's manipulating the shape in this particular way. So there's another technique I can just think of that will help us. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. Actually, no, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a layer. Okay, I'm going to make the layer the same size as this thing. It's going to be 10 by 42. 10 by 42. 1042. And I'm going to center it like this right here. Just snap it to that shape. And I'm going to drop pause into there. And now I'm going to say pause group. I'm going to open that up. And instead of having this animation on the pause group, what we're going to do is we're going to say at the beginning, okay, at the beginning, that group is as wide as this thing. Oops, let's undo. We're going to turn off adjust the content of the group on resizing, and we're going to resize. We're going to also turn off relative mode, and we're going to resize this group right like that. Okay. So it is the same size as the shape. And now that pause group should have an X width. Ah, yeah, it was centered by the middle. Again, that same technique that I said before. We're just going to turn it to the top left, and we're going to get rid of the X track. So let's highlight this. And there you go. That is animating. Whoops, no, we wanted to get rid of the width. Sorry, I I deleted the wrong thing. We wanted to get rid of the X animation on the group itself. There we go. There we go. Still got that jitteriness because we haven't fixed the animation of this thing yet. And now we can go in, grab that shape, and we're going to change its animation. So instead of the shape getting smaller, okay, we're just going to delete the pause 1 width and path animations. Okay, so now what's happening is it's not changing right now. But what is happening is if you select the group should be changing size, just like that. And now we're going to mask the group to its bounds. And okay, there you go. We're getting close to our aesthetic. All right. And what now we'll do is we're going to go in here and we're going to say at the end of our animation, we're going to just turn off the masking for now. We're going to double click into the shape. We're going to press Shift. We're going to grab that point right here. And we're going to press Shift and Command. We're going to snap that down. And we're going to snap that up. And so the width shouldn't change. Okay, let's get rid of the path animation should, and then the width shouldn't change. There we go. There we go. Smoother down here. That jitteriness is going away. And now on the group, we do the mask to bounds. And we hit play. There you go. We got that effect. Okay. Let's zoom in on that. And again, let's watch it. That's the effect we got. Okay. So there's always 1 or 2 or 3 different ways that you can animate the same thing. And here we're getting rid of the jitteriness on that. And I'm pretty happy with that animation. So the next thing that we're going to do, well, we'll save it. And we're going to work on pause 2. So pause 2. We go back to this. Okay, it looks like this thing spins out. Just going to slow it down here. Well, as soon as it hits that, look at that. There's a little rectangle that spins out, and it looks like it spins in a counterclockwise. Yeah, it does like a counterclockwise and then lands into position. And it takes about half the amount of time that that animation does. Okay. And there we go. All right. So what we're going to need to do for this is we're going to need to expand by 0.5, or we're going to make the entire timeline 1.5, and we're going to expand it. We want a little bit extra space because this animation happens at the end. Actually, let's just make it 2 seconds long. We're going to expand it to 2. There we go. And now on that timeline, we're just going to zoom out a little bit. And it starts from here and it goes all the way there. You know what? I'm going to undo that for now. Actually, no, this is totally fine. This is totally fine. So at this point in time, from the very beginning of the animation to right about now, this is a small square. So what I'll do is I will make it 10. Let's make the width by pressing Command-Shift-R. Oh, look at that. We're going to press Command-Shift-R to turn on relative mode. We're going to grab pause 2, and we're going to make it 10 wide and 42 high. And 10 high, sorry. And we are going to drop it down so that it is at the bottom of that. So that's where the first part of this animation is going to end. And then let's say this takes, I don't know, about a half second. There is a moment where it's done a little bit more than its actual rotation, which would be here. And at the beginning, it's probably minus 360. Okay. Undo. Again, relative mode. I'm always switching that on and off. And then let's say at the end of the at 0.5, it is 0. Okay. Nope. I had the wrong element selected. Sorry. We got to select pause 2. This is what's going to have the animation. So right now it's 0 at the beginning of the animation. Let's call it minus 360. And so what we should see is pause 2 showing up here. And then what we'll do is we'll drag its animation. So it should, oh, that was going the wrong direction. So this could be from here. This one could actually be 360. So I clicked on that key value and then I changed the rotation up here. And yeah, that's that counterclockwise. But actually that 360 is way too much. So let's make it 180. And it's going to do, yeah, that feels about right to me. Okay. And right about here, so it's going to end in that position at 0.5. And over here, where it's going to go even less. So it's going to go to 180. Let's do minus 45, minus 22.5. Let's go minus 22.5. And that's that little step where it like animates all the way and then comes back. Okay, so it comes right here. Let's zoom in and look at that effect. So it animates 180, gets to that point, and then comes back into place. And that's what we're doing here. It's really subtle, but yeah, it does these rotations. It might even be 90 to start. Anyways, we're getting close. No, it does it at least. Yeah, okay. So that's the state that we want that to be in. The other thing we want is we want it to start right there. So it starts after this animation is complete. And here we can say its original position is next to that. And then what we'll do is we'll make it like this and like that. And now what we should see is, there we go. See that? There's our animation, just like that. Okay, so after that, it goes up. It animates up and down and up and down. So it goes up a little bit more and then down a little bit and then back up. So we can do this. We could do it with the bounce easing curve. So let's try that. So at the end of our animation, it's going to be 42 high. Okay. It's going to be like this. And I don't particularly like that animation. So what we're going to do is, because it's moving, so sometimes again that jitteriness happens when you have a couple of animations sort of compressing at the same time or happening at the same time. So maybe what we'll do is we'll do the pause to spin, and everything when you're animating is smoke and mirrors. And we're going to copy this. We're going to duplicate this in place. Okay, pause to grow. So now we have 2 layers, all right? And at this moment in time, right up to here, all right, we want pause to be, we want pause to grow to be 1, and at the beginning we want it to be 0. So let's just go to the beginning. We're going to make its opacity 0. That's going to create that animation for us on pause to grow. Just like that. Let's then bring this down to 1.5. And we're just going to snap this as a right step. So what that's going to do is it's going to just turn on its opacity right at that last possible moment. There. And now it's going to grow. And the easiest way to do this growth is to say that the anchor point is at the bottom. So let's turn on relative mode. Turn it off. Well, we turn on relative mode, we change the anchor, we turn it off. So now we're not going to be animating the X position or the Y position, only the height. So now at the end, the height is going to be 42. Okay, and we do this. Okay, that's there. And the other thing that we want, see this now? Now that we have that little square in there, one thing I forgot to do was hide it. So we want to hide that until this animation is complete. Same technique. We want the pause 1 to be hidden. Or the pause 2 spin to be hidden until we need it. So we're going to select that at the beginning of the animation. We're going to make this 0. And right here, where it's supposed to be visible, we're going to click. We're going to turn that to a right step. So now we go there. That comes out. Okay, so I still don't like this little jitteriness. What I am going to do is I'm going to do another technique. Yep, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop animating the height of this thing. I am going to create another layer. I'm going to make it 10 by 42. And I was not in relative mode, so I'm going to delete that. I'm going to turn on relative mode again. I'm going to grab this pause to grow, and I'm going to just snap it over top of that. I'm going to put that together, and we're going to call this pause to grow group. So we know what it is. Grow group. And at the beginning of that animation, which is right at 1.5, we're going to want this to be, what do we want? We want it to be at the beginning. We also want this group to be a little bit taller than we need. So let's remove this. I'm just going to bring it up by, 10 points. Give us a little bit of space, turn on relative mode, and now what we're going to do is we're going to take that pause to grow and pause to spin. We're going to align the tops of those things at the beginning of this part of the animation. So we're going to drag this down, okay? It's still inside of its group, and now I'm going to select pause to grow, pause to spin, and align them to the top like that. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to delete that original Y position, and it should animate in like that, okay? So there, and then we got that animation like that. And the last step is we're going to turn on the masks to bounds for that group. Oops, undo. And then let's see what that looks like. Okay, we're pretty close. Now we got to do that little bounce up and down. So we could do a bounce back, I believe, on that. Great, so there's the bounce back. But it doesn't go up and down like that. Okay, so what we can do is we can say, let's just go back to here. Let's do an ease in. Let's do an ease in to this position, to the top. We're going to make this pause to go up by a few points. Let's make it go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's make it go up 8. And now we select it again and we go 1, 2. Let's select it again and bring it down a little bit. Something like that. Now what do we get? We get, it's a little bit fast, right? So we go ease out and ease in. Okay, so maybe the amount of animation is too high. So that should go, maybe bring that in like a little bit lower. Just to be a bit more subtle. And then this one. Actually, it should end with these two aligned at the bottom. There we go. And let's just say at this point, this is a little bit higher, this one. Something like that. There we go. So now we have that. Okay, so we have our pause animation done. All right. Okay, so it is still taking a little while. How far have we gone? We've gone about 48 minutes so far. So it does take time to reconstruct stuff when you're trying to get it like perfect to the timing of the other thing, and you think about one way of doing something or another way of doing something. Sometimes you have to go forward and back. Sometimes you make mistakes, but you just keep going. So I'm going to finish off by doing the play pause word animation, and we should be done. That one's a little bit easier than this trick with the spinning and the up and down. And yeah, we should be pretty close to finished after that. Okay, let's get back to it. So as I mentioned, I like to do the text stuff in Sketch because it's a little bit easier. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to open Sketch. We're going to go and grab this and drop that into Sketch and open it up, or what's going on, Sketch? Sketch is not responding. Okay. Let's open you up. Don't reopen. Cancel. Thanks anyways. All right. So let's just create a new document. Oh, hey, I just saw this. So I was a little bit too focused. I ended up switching back, right? Can I use only one CP at the tip of the circle? Or at the tip of the triangle? No, you can't use one control point because you're transitioning to a square, okay? And a square has 4 points. And when you're transitioning between two different shapes, you need to have the same number of points in each shape. So we do need 2 control points at the tip of the triangle. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. Let's have a look here. Let's grab this and drag it in. Okay, so this is pretty standard font. Let's say play. It's close. And so Bezier circle, that's Flo's font. So let's just bring this down by a bunch and get it close. Let's call it 52. Make it a little bit smaller, 50. That looks about right. So I'm just aligning things again, always using like the original source as the default. There we go. So we have our letters, 2-point character, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste. I'm going to call this one pause and this one play. Actually, we're going to call this, yeah, that's perfect. Okay, pause and play label. Let's call it pause and play label. Actually, it doesn't matter what we're doing with it because we're going to break it into shapes anyways. Okay. Getting tired, but this one here, we're going to double click in. We're going to call this pause. Okay, so now we have pause and play, and we only need to do something like this. We're going to go and we're going to outline, convert to outlines, and we're also going to convert to outlines. Now what we're going to do is we are going to break these apart because we want to have different kinds of animation on each one of the letters. Let's go back to here. Adding one more, making 5. The 5th will be at the middle right to form the triangle. Yeah, we could do that. It would end up making the shape animation a little bit different because then you're animating from a triangle through a pentagon to a square. So the animation would be slightly different, but it's possible to do that as well, yes. Okay, so let's have a look here. We are looking at this animation. So the L, when the play animates out, the L, all the letters go closer, and the A ends up where the original pause A ends up, okay? So I think what we're going to do is we're going to delete, actually we'll leave them all together. We're going to import both sets of shapes or text shapes as one, or as the way they're going to be, and then we're going to delete, we're going to use the A in the play to position the A from the pause for the animation, and then we'll delete one of the A's at the end of that, okay? So we're pretty close to what we need. Here we go, there's play. We are going to, now I want to like break these apart into their component letters like that. There's like that. And we're going to call this L path, Y path. We're going to duplicate these. We're going to call one of them A1 path and the other just A path, A and P path. We're going to delete the A from there. We're going to delete the P from that. And those should be good. We're going to group those. Play group. And we're going to do the same thing up here. S comes out. S comes out. U comes out. And we're going to say, we actually don't need the P for the pause. Okay, so we can delete the P because the P is the same. Delete this one. We're going to delete the E. We're going to call this A2 path. And this one is the E path. E path. Okay. And group those and call that pause text group. We're going to save that as play pause text. Now, if I copy that, we might, is it going to paste? No, what we'll do is we'll hit Command N, we're going to link our sketch file, and we're going to import from this file right here. We're going to click here. We're going to drag that icon back over to Flow. We're going to just drop it there. We're going to open it. Ah, we need an artboard, that's why. And we can get rid of that shape. And there we go. Create a timeline. We're going to put that artboard right there. It's there. They're all white. That's why we can't see it. But now we can copy those two. And we're just going to close this. We're going to delete it. We don't need that file. And we're going to paste them right there. Okay, so now we have our play text group and our pause text group. And we can just get rid of the copying. We could probably clean that up a little bit in another release, the naming. And let's select both of them and move them into position. We'll undo, turn on relative mode. We're going to put them into the right position, just like that. Okay. So at this moment in time, if we didn't see, like there's pause, but with the P in it. So let's bring the, Flow just crashed on me. That's not so good. Okay, so they're here. And where's that animation? That animation is good to go there. So let's just try pasting again. Save, just in case. And now let's take those two groups and position them just like that. That's about where they should go. Undo, Command-Shift-R, and let's just position them something like this. Okay, so now we have our two groups. Saved, saved. At this point in time, we want to only see the play. So that would mean that each one of these is going to be faded out. So that would be faded out, like the whole group would be faded out. Let's start with the play animation. And what we want to see there we go. We want to see these letters sort of move to the side a little bit. We go back here and we just animate. See, they move. This is pause. They move to the left in about the same amount of time as that circle goes. Okay. And right about there, they're right in the right position. Let's go back. And so that means So the background circle inside that button, that takes 1 second. So at this point in time, the play is to the left a little bit. Let's turn the opacity of this thing back on. And all the letters are sort of like inside of there. So the A needs to come to the left into the exact same position as the A from the pause. So I selected both of those and I aligned them to the left. And now I will again hide the pause group and just modify the play group so that, sorry, I always do this. Okay, again, select and select and select and select and align because we're making the animation happen. Turn the relative mode off and, or turn it back on. No, just leave it. Do it here, move this to the left and move this to the left like that. Okay, and now this one and this one should have their opacities come back to 0 like that. So as this comes out, those fade in. Okay. And let's get rid of these right here. Like that. And at this moment in time, the pause should be over here. We're going to delete this. And we are going to, we're going to move the U, the S, and the E out a little bit, okay? Let's align them. Just make them like this. And at this point in time, we're going to bring U, turn on relative mode, and just bring it down a little so that the letters are aligned. Good. And it looks to me like those should come out. So over here, these ones should be animated like this. At the beginning, they are going to, let's ungroup them now. Save. And let's just move them out a little bit. And each one can go out a little bit more. And out like that. So they are like this. Oh, undo, 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 undo. Relative mode is off. Always got to do that. Go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And then we select the E and we go 1, 2. Select the E. One, two, three, 4. There, like that. So they should animate. They should animate like that. Let's go like this. We're going to call this the S path, U path, and the E path, and change their time. We only want the X positions. Y position we can get rid of. X position comes like this. Okay, so let's look at it. And where's that E path? There we go. E path as well. Okay. We're going to get rid of the L path and the opacity on that. And the opacities for the U, S, and E at the beginning should be 0. So let's do this. Make their opacities 0 at the beginning, and then we're just going to take those, select that, and we're going to align them left. So now we have our animation like this, and we got to get rid of that A animation. A1 path there. Okay. So I think we're pretty close. There we go. Okay, so now let's turn this this whole timeline. Let's make it 1 second long. Scale it. There we go. And now let's export that. Play pause. We're going to export it as an HTML toggle button. We're going to save that to the documents. We're going to open that one when it's done. And fingers crossed, I did a good job. There we go. There we go. Okay, so we're pretty close. The only thing that we don't do right now is we don't have the, what do you call it? The animation of the circle going out and like animating in from the other side. But that, I would say, is for another day, because that involves a little bit of development work and so on. So we're pretty close on this one. There's probably a little bit of like tweaking in terms of position, because I don't quite like where the play sits here. Maybe there's a little bit of kerning that we could do or something like that on it. But generally, a very simple animation like this one can often have a lot of work behind it. Okay, so that's it. That was an hour long. It does take some time from time to time to work through things. But this is basically how I start thinking about things. So you know that technique that we did earlier on with the pause and the group and the thing coming up to try and prevent that sort of jitteriness? That's something that I just kind of came up with the other day when somebody was noticing that there was a little bit of jitter on their animation as well. And so you can use like masks, and you can use layers, and you can use all different kinds of things to clean stuff up, to get different effects, and there you go. So now that button is made entirely of shapes, which means that if this was an actual HTML button, we could resize that thing very easily. We could play it back and forth. It's pretty responsive. Okay. So I can just like double click, and then halfway I can unclick it and stuff like that. It's pretty responsive as well. So again, we could tweak timing and do certain things like that. But in a nutshell, yeah, let's build, let's recreate, let's learn. I learned a bunch of stuff along the way too. Okay, see you next week with the next one. Bye.